This is really a yich song because it talks about a very yich subject. She sings it good, though. It's called Wedding Bell Blues. That's Laura Nero and the song she wrote. Performed at the Three Dog Night coming up next.
It sounds a little like every kind of music, and a lot like nothing you've ever heard before.
More than a new album, more than a new group, a new quantity that can only be called flock music. Get into the flock on Columbia.
This album is available at Minsky's Music.
Concerts West proudly presents Donovan.
Sunshine came softly through my window today.
Friday night, October 3rd at SMU Coliseum.
First there is a mountain, then there is no mountain, then there is
An evening with Donovan.
They call it mellow yellow.
Ticket locations: Preston Record Center, Cog Hill Simmons, Exchange Park, Minsky's, and Hotel Texas in Fort Worth. Donovan, Friday, October 3rd, SMU Moody Coliseum.
Heroes coming.
This, of course, is Nilsson from the album Aerial Ballet. Everybody's talking at me.
Everybody's talking at me. I won't let you leave my love behind.
These are the news headlines on KNUS. Captain Robert Morosco, the accused triggerman in the Green Beret murder case, has denied charges against himself and 5 other officers. All the men will be acquitted. Morosco predicted that all the men will be acquitted in the court-martial expected to begin next month. Police and British troops are on alert in Belfast after some fires broke out in different parts of the city. Military and police authorities are not saying whether the fires were deliberately set, pending an investigation by experts. The leader of the new one-day-old military government in Bolivia says he will not nationalize foreign oil holdings in that country. But General Alfredo Ovando Candia says a new law will be initiated which will require the companies to pay a larger share of their profits to Bolivia. A New York paper reports Supreme Court nominee Clement Ainsworth was involved in a business deal with former Senate official Bobby Baker. The Social Democratic Party convention will open in Stockholm tomorrow to elect a new Swedish Prime Minister. The old one, Tage Erlander, is resigning after 23 years as chief of Sweden's government. And the health director of the United Mine Workers today accused American doctors of a disturbing lack of concern about black lung disease. In an address to the American College of Radiology, Dr. Lauren Kerr warned that an epidemic of the disease may be sweeping the nation's coal mines. Local weather forecast. Fair tonight. Low tonight should be 65. Fair and mild Sunday through Monday. High Sunday around 90. Low Sunday night 65. The winds will be light and variable. At the present time, the wind is out of the north at 6 miles an hour. The temperature in Cowtown 72. And the official love field temperature reached 76 degrees. That is Judy Henske and Jerry Yester, A Horse on a Stick. It's kind of a nonsense song, I guess, but I kind of like it. Just kind of catchy, you know. In Biafra, there's over 1 million people dying of starvation. 1 million have already died, I should say, in the past 6 months. $1, you said, will keep a child alive for 80 days. Wait, that's a long time to stretch a dollar. So send your $1 or $5 or $10 to the American Committee for Biafran Relief, Post Office Box 4030, Church Street Station in New York, New York. 10:45 on a Saturday night with Merv.
This is KNUS Dallas, offering you a pop festival all your very own.
Oh, boy.
Soon.
Oh, pour that RC. What'd I say? Yeah. This is the Chicago Transit Authority and questions 67 and 68. my favorite songs from that double record album from Chicago Transit Authority. Speaking of good singers, this group's got a chick named Millie. Oh, one of the highest voices I've ever heard in my life. This is The Weight on the Rotary Connection. Oh, sing that song, Millie. And Nick, you sing yours now. I'll let you in here do a little something from Beggar's Banquet. Yeah. It's called Sympathy for the Devil, but I guess you know that. I just thought I'd throw it in.
This is KNUS FM, Dallas, Texas.
Tropic of Capricorn, and better not make a mistake because the other one's the book, and that would not be cool. That's from the album Street Noise. Moving right along, something from Pink Floyd here. This is a very bizarre sounding song. I don't know. I haven't decided what kind of style the Pink Floyd have. This is called Matilda Mother. Everybody sing now. Have a Murphy sing-along. Yes, sorry, Bob. I'm feeling very lazy. I really do. I'm tired. That set that I did at 8:45 to 9:15, that long, wild set, has just completely exhausted me. So I'm going to play a song for all you lazy people such as Murph to just be lazy by, right? It's got to be one of the laziest sounding songs. The theme from the Midnight Cowboy. It's the kind of song that if your house is on fire and somebody says, "Hey, your house is on fire. Don't just sit there. Get up and move." And you say, "Leave me alone, man. I'm praying for rain." You know, one of those. Gail McCormick is the chick of the group called Smith. And I just want to make love to you. I'm in a crazy mood, completely gone. You know, forget it. If you're listening, forget it. Whatever I'm doing, I don't know what I'm doing. I have somebody on the phone here that has to keep reminding me who I am and where I am because I don't know. The Dallas Heart Association reminds you, how could you possibly forget if we keep telling you all the time? Take care of your heart, people, or whatever. For information about this, about what I'm talking about, I forgot what I'm talking about. Where am I? The heart, yes. If you want to know information about your heart and you want to know all about it, just write the Dallas Heart Association and they'll tell you. 3205 Oak Lawn, and the telephone number is 526-8633, right? 11:15 on a Saturday night on the Mighty Murph program on 98.7 KNUS in Dallas. 98.7. Never thought I'd make it through that, I'll tell you that.
Sit here lonely like a broken man. Sell my time and do.
This is the hourly news on KNUS. North Vietnamese Army troops attacked a company of homeward-bound U.S. Marines encamped near the demilitarized zone early Sunday. 2 Americans were killed and 17 others were wounded. The communists withdrew into the DMZ after a 1-hour battle. The Americans were part of the 3rd Marine Division that is in the process of being withdrawn from the war by mid-December. Communist delegates to the Paris peace talks accused President Nixon today of stepping up the Vietnam War. They also said Mr. Nixon was responsible for the stalemate in the Paris negotiations. Commenting on the president's views conference, the communist said his remarks were proof he wants to keep the U.S. on the battlefield indefinitely. Mr. Nixon said Friday he would not set a firm deadline for a complete troop withdrawal because that would encourage Hanoi to continue fighting until then. The semi-official newspaper Al Aram said in Cairo today that the U.S. has agreed to supply Israel with 75 more jets. And in a story from Washington, the paper said that 25 Phantoms and 50 Skyhawk jets are in addition to 56 Phantoms the U.S. began delivering in early September. It said President Nixon and Israeli Premier Mrs. Golda Meir did not make the announcement after their talks this week for fear of angering the Arab states. Official reports from Cairo say Egyptian anti-aircraft gunners repulsed raiding Israeli jets in the Suez Canal zone today after artillery duels raged across the waterway. The report said there was no damage to any Egyptian targets. Israel said the raid was a result of continued Egyptian aggression, but gave no further details. Several persons have been injured, including troops manning barricades in Belfast, Northern Ireland. The troops were attacked with stones and bricks as firemen, unable to pass the barricades, stood by helplessly watching houses burn. Trouble began shortly after midnight, that's Belfast time, when Protestants staged a raid across the peace line separating Protestant and Catholic areas. The most disruptive election campaign in West Germany's history has ended, and preparations for Sunday's voting have begun. Opinion polls agreed Chancellor George Kessinger's Christian Democrats and Foreign Minister Willy Brandt's Social Democrats will win most of the 469 parliament seats. The Bolivian Air Force has resumed a search for a missing commercial plane after an earlier report that its wreckage had been discovered was disproved. The airline, Lloyd Bolivian, issued a statement saying that it was thought to be the crash site was simply a number of persons on a mountainside. The plane carrying 74 persons disappeared over the Andes Mountains Friday while en route to La Paz from Santa Cruz. Former Vice President Hubert Humphrey accused President Nixon today of forgetting what he termed the average American. The defeated Democrat presidential nominee spoke at a fundraising rally in Charleston, West Virginia. He said Mr. Nixon has overlooked in his political outlook the forgotten American he pledged to help. And finally in the news, President Nixon talked with New York Governor Nelson Rockefeller for nearly 2 hours today and said later he will unveil his new Latin American policy October 31st. The two met at the Camp David retreat in Maryland, where Mr. Nixon is spending the weekend. Rockefeller reported on his recent fact-finding tour of Latin America. The announcement will be made in Washington in an address to the Inter-American Press Association. Local weather forecast. Fair tonight. Tonight's low will be 65. Fair and mild Sunday through Monday. The high Sunday near 90. Low Sunday night 65. The winds will be light and variable. At the present time, the wind is out of the east-southeast at 6 miles an hour. The temperature in Cowtown at 70, and the official love field temperature reached 75 degrees.
This is Bob Marcantel to remind you that suicide is one of the 10 leading causes of death in America. It strikes most often those of college age and those in their 40s and 50s. Most people thinking of suicide give clues about their feelings. Most really want to live. There are better alternatives than suicide, and they are available through the Suicide Prevention Center of Dallas. Call 521-5531 day or night. The number again is 521-5531.
Spirit!
I'm talking baby in the left turn.
That's Steppenwolf from his first album. Back to music. Well, actually, what I have to say, some of these commercials are better than some of the songs we have in here. This is one of my favorite commercials that we had, so I thought I'd just go ahead and play it.
Oh, ho, ho, when young love is in its power. Oh, ho, ho, when the dream has just begun. Flower children, though they throw their stones.
According to the recent District of Columbia Imaginary Census, 6 out of every 10 employees of the CIA own and like to listen to the Bugs' new reprise album, The Belle of Avenue A, when they think no one is watching. The always lovable thugs, Thule, Ed, and Ken, are not your average run-of-the-mill teenage dance combo, though they may be your average run-of-the-mill gang of irreverent perverts. Those who buy and listen to the Bugs' new reprise album, The Belle of Avenue A, are taking their moral reputations into their own hands.
Concerts West presents with love, Donovan. The world's #1 minstrel, Friday night, October 3rd, 8 o'clock, SMU Moody Coliseum. Tickets now on sale. Preston Record Center, Cog Hill Simmons, Exchange Park, Neiman Marcus, and Hotel Texas in Fort Worth for Donovan. One performance, October 3rd.
Hail Atlantis.
From the album Tommy by The Who, this is the welcome song. Rose from the album Corn and Mrs. Rose's Side. There are millions of kids overseas who are in desperate need of care. Now, through Medico, you can volunteer to treat the sick and train local medical personnel. So send dollars to Medico. The address is CARE, 216 Empire Bank Building, right here in Dallas. Make it 11:45 on the Murphy Saturday Night program.
Something struck me the other day that you might like to know about. You may think that because we do certain things that don't seem to be in keeping with a, quote, underground, unquote, radio station, KNUS is copping out. For instance, many radio stations strive for mass appeal. They play an occasional rock or heavy number to appease the kids, but direct most of their approach to a more conservative audience. Well, sometimes KNUS plays a song that could be termed middle-of-the-road music. We do that not to gain approval from the parents or our management or anyone else for that matter. We play and say what we want to. But there are compromises that have to be made, and in the cases where we can't do what we want, we bend the rules or adapt our own judgment to fit the situation. This, then, is KNUS in Dallas, and our main goal is to achieve a reality, something that you can identify with, be bummed out by, be brought up by. We change because you do. You and I are young, and we have a lot to experience. In short, we are searching for ourselves and not an audience. If you want to stay with us, good. Great. If you don't, then don't.
This is CTA Liberation.
This is KNUS FM, Dallas, Texas.
From the album Goodbye, but the Cream, that is, I wasn't going to play that song. I'll tell you what, I wasn't going to play it at all. Somebody called in, a young lady called in and asked me to play that, and that doesn't thrill me that much. The song doesn't, so I wasn't going to play it. But the last thing she said, and the reason I played it, she doesn't even realize it probably why I played it, but she says, you're a darling, thank you very much, you're a darling. Bing! Magic words, and now I played the song, and it was called Badge. This is the Murphy program on a Sunday morning now. Lear will be here in about 56 minutes, I would imagine. Wasted Union Blues from It's a Beautiful Day. From the album Abbey Road to the Beatles now. Here Comes the Sun. And now, from the original Delaney and Bonnie and Friends, Love Me a Little Bit Longer.
Love me a little bit longer.
If you're a member of a club, a church group, literary society, illiterary society, or any non-profit organization, your group can get free radio time to publicize your event. Send a card or letter with all the details of your event to Public Service KNUS in Dallas. 1214 right now on 98.7 KNUS FM in Dallas on the Mighty Murph Saturday Night program.
The power of love.
Just like I never got that out, I'll tell you what. Jimi Hendrix and All Along the Watchtower from his greatest smash hits album. Got time for one lowly little Beatles song to throw in here.
Is there anybody going to listen to my hell?
This is the hourly news report on KNUS. Communist delegates to the Paris peace talks accused President Nixon today of stepping up the Vietnam War. They also said Mr. Nixon was responsible for the stalemate in the Paris negotiations. Commenting on the president's news conference, the communist said his remarks were proof he wants to keep U.S. troops on the battlefield indefinitely. Mr. Nixon said Friday he would not set a firm deadline for a complete troop withdrawal because that would encourage Hanoi to continue fighting until then. North Vietnamese Army troops attacked a company of homeward-bound U.S. Marines encamped near the demilitarized zone early Sunday. 2 Americans were killed and 17 others were wounded. The communists withdrew into the DMZ after a 1-hour battle. The Americans were part of a 3rd Marine Division that is in the process of being withdrawn from the war by mid-December. A semi-official newspaper, Al Aram, said in Cairo today that the U.S. has agreed to supply Israel with 75 more jet fighters. In a story from Washington, the paper said the 25 Phantoms and 50 Skyhawk jets are in addition to 56 Phantoms the U.S. began delivering in early September. It said President Nixon and Israeli Premier Mrs. Golda Meir did not make the announcement after their talks this week for fear of angering the Arab states. Official reports from Cairo say Egyptian anti-aircraft gunners repulsed raiding Israeli jets in the Suez Canal zone today after artillery duels raged across the waterway. The report said there was no damage to any Egyptian targets. Israel said the raid was the result of continued Egyptian aggression, but gave no further details. Several persons have been injured, including troops manning barricades in Belfast, Northern Ireland. The troops were attacked with stones and bricks as firemen, unable to pass the barricades, stood by helplessly watching houses burn. Trouble began shortly after midnight Belfast time when Protestants staged a raid across the peace line, separating Protestant and Catholic areas. The most disruptive election campaign in West Germany's history has ended, and preparations for Sunday's voting have begun. Opinion polls agreed Chancellor Kurt Kessinger's Christian Democrats and Foreign Minister Willy Brandt's Social Democrats will win most of the 469 parliament seats. The Bolivian Air Force has resumed a search for a missing commercial plane after an earlier report that its wreckage had been discovered was disproved. The airline, Lloyd Bolivian, issued a statement saying that what was thought to be the crash site was simply a number of persons on a mountainside. The plane carrying 74 persons disappeared over the Andes Mountains Friday while en route to La Paz from Santa Cruz. And President Nixon talked with New York Governor Nelson Rockefeller for nearly 2 hours today. He said later he will unveil his new Latin American policy October 31st. The two met at at the Camp David retreat in Maryland, where Mr. Nixon is spending the weekend. Rockefeller reported on his recent fact-finding tour of Latin America. The announcement will be made in Washington in an address to the Inter-American Press Association. Local weather forecast. It'll be fair tonight, down to 65 degrees, fair and mild Sunday through Monday. The high Sunday around up near 90, low Sunday night 65. The winds will be light and variable. At the present time, the wind is out of the east-southeast at 6 miles an hour. Temperature in Cowtown is 68, and the official low fuel temperature reads 69 degrees.
This is Dr. Ray Ridings of the American Cancer Society bringing you this message with cigarette smoking is a habit that can send your life up in smoke. Kick the habit and live a long life.
That's Blind Faith, and this is Monty Murph trying to find the right cut of the song here. Yes, somebody wanted to hear the original version of the motorcycle song by Arlo Guthrie, so I thought to myself, why not do it, Murph? You'll be a star. So I did it. From the album Alice's Restaurant, motorcycle song, Arlo Guthrie.
I don't want a pickle.
It's 12:30. Lear will be here in about a half hour. In the meantime, we got Blood, Sweat, and Tears. This is the ballad of Willie and Lotta Mae Jones, performed by Tony Joe White.
Willie and Lotta Mae Jones, well,
Listen to the pouring rain, listen to it pour.
You don't think very often about blood banks. You should. One of these days, you're going to need their services, and you're going to be, where are you going to be? Nowhere, right? Dallas area blood banks are short of blood, so give to a blood bank near you. The Monty Murph program, 15 minutes remaining. I have a 15-minute song I'm going to lay on you. So these will be my last words. Be cool, and I'll see you Monday at 12 noon. Something from Blind Faith coming up next. And Lear will be here at 1 o'clock.
This is KNUS Dallas, offering you a pop festival all your very own soon.
Music from a number of diverse groups in a number of diverse times. Kind of, I guess, establishing its justification in diversity. Music for from Last Exit by Traffic, Feeling Good. From Brian Auger and the Trinity on the album before, Listen Here, written by Eddie Harris. From Traffic again, from John Barleycorn Must Die, a thing called Glad. From there into The Duke by Dave Brubeck. And finally from Yosef Lateef. Latitude 42 degrees 30 minutes, longitude 83 degrees. Yosef Lateef's Detroit and Livingston Playground.
It's not often a stranger welcomes you into a house, but Grandma's doing just that, welcoming you into her house to look around at her selection of clothing in the men's boutique. And if you're a chick, you're also very welcome to shop through the men's clothes. You'll probably find something for yourself. As a matter of fact, Grandma's soon going to open a women's boutique. If you'd like, you can watch the Leatherman make you a belt. The dude's a real artist and does a tight job. There's also the candlestick maker and, of course, those good feelings that go with being in an old house, surrounded by good people. Grandma's House, 2811 Oak Lawn. It's for your head as well as your body.
In the land of rock and roll, there once lived a star who created musical history. Then he took a 12-year walk. Now, Blink Ray is back to tell us why he left. What he's seen.
I see a man crying, 'cause the whole world has let him down.
What he's learned.
The red man lives and dies on the reservation, and the black man just stays anywhere he can.
Blink Ray returns to the land of rock and roll to begin a new legend. Blink Ray on Polydor record and tapes.
Available wherever tapes and records are sold.
If you have any questions to be answered or perhaps some answers to be questioned, call switchboard 352-9749. This is KNUS FM in Dallas. Music from Alice Coltrane, Pharaoh Sanders, Miles Davis, and finally William S. Fisher.
Back to the Roots, a very special double album, now specially priced by John Mayall and some memorable men.
I want to say a thing or two regarding Jimi Hendrix. There seems to be a case of accidental suicide.
Back to the Roots, a specially priced 2-record set, also including a 24-page full-color booklet featuring the artist and the lyrics.
Television hypnotizing me. I got no
Back to the Roots from John Mayall on Polydor Records and Tape.
Available at Soundtown.
Staring at your miniature.
August 4th, J Riggings will be 2. Many of you are hopefully already familiar with the J Riggings store in Preston Center. Well, now we've made a new one. It's out in Irving Mall, and it'll be open August 4th. It looks pretty much like the other J Riggings store. Rough sawn wood, pilings, nautical artifacts. It's all very reminiscent of an old dockside warehouse. It's dramatic and unique. But of course we are interested in selling things, like very sexy boots and shoes, flare pants, turtleneck skinny rib sweaters, double knit sport coats, ties and belts. Now we know that people won't come from miles around just to view the merchandise, so we've engaged Playmate Janice Pennington, a very engaging young lady who graced the centerfold of Playboy magazine in May of this year. She'll be our hostess for the opening, and we'll be very happy to autograph her picture for you. The date is August 4th. The place is J Riggings, Irving Mall.
This is pretty strange. Sometimes I wonder who writes these things. These little cards. Yeah. If you don't mind, whoever you are, I'm going to ad-lib this instead of reading what you have here. If you're willing to take the time to call to Ataro and rap to him, I suppose he'll be willing to take the time to listen. You can either drop by at 2311 Lucas or call 528-1511.